Hello, my dear friends. Today, we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 3rd of February 2025. We have many interesting updates, so let's get started. The most interesting and significant statements are coming from Ukraine. Today, Zelensky stated that Ukraine received only $75 billion out of the $177 billion promised by the United States of America. He remarked, "When they say that Ukraine received $200 billion to support the army, it's not true. I don't know where all this money is." This statement was made by Zelensky today. Another important statement he made was, "We have suffered huge losses and are today closer to peace than ever over these 3 years of war." As you can see, when the topic of money arises, Zelensky appears more open to peace negotiations. It was quite surprising to hear such statements from him. However, later, the Russians provided their own analysis of the situation. Today, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service reported that NATO is preparing to expose Zelensky's corruption. NATO headquarters is considering making public data regarding the theft of $1.5 billion allocated for purchasing weapons by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his team. This was stated by the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. In addition, according to the agency, the alliance plans to expose a scheme in which the salaries of 130,000 deceased Ukrainian soldiers continue to be withdrawn abroad since they are still officially listed as alive. This is not something new. I'll remind you that, according to public data, a similar situation occurred in Afghanistan. If you recall, when Biden was withdrawing troops from Afghanistan, he made a statement that Afghanistan should not be afraid because it had one of the largest armies. At that time, according to Biden, Afghanistan had up to 300,000 soldiers, while the Taliban, a terrorist organization, had only 30,000. There was no need for panic. However, when the United States left Afghanistan, it was discovered that Afghanistan did not have any real army, and the government forces were completely destroyed by this relatively small group of terrorists. This was the situation several years ago, and now we see that perhaps a similar scheme was used by the Ukrainians, maybe even by former U.S. authorities operating in Ukraine. Of course, it will be interesting to see what happens next, but it is evident that the situation for Zelensky is getting worse. Now, let's discuss the situation on the ground. First, we will talk about the Sumy direction, where the Russians continue their offensive operations. Over the past 24 hours, the Russians, as a result of reconnaissance operations, managed to locate concentrations of the armed forces of Ukraine near the city of Sumy. They then attacked these positions with several Iskander missiles, causing significant Ukrainian losses. I'll remind you that for the past 2 days, we have been discussing a very interesting situation currently unfolding along the N07 road. This road serves as a crucial supply and support artery for the Ukrainian forces. The armed forces of Ukraine are currently located on the territory of the city of Sudzha, and we previously discussed that the Russians set up several ambushes, destroying a significant number of Ukrainian vehicles over the past few days. It is now confirmed that this territory is under complete Russian fire control, including FPV drone control. The Russians are using fiber optic drones, and the Ukrainians are unable to counter this effectively. Another important aspect is that the Ukrainians are also aware of this situation. They understand the risks and the potential consequences of this FPV drone control for the armed forces of Ukraine. As a result, over the past several days, they have been working to improve their logistics by using alternative routes to supply and support their forces in Sudzha. At present, it appears that the Ukrainians are using another road that runs from the city of Sumy through the settlement of Fikchina, then along the T901 road through the village of Maritsa, and finally through the village of Marina before continuing towards Sudzha. This shift in logistics is the reason the Russians have intensified their activities in the southern part of Sudzha. They are now attempting to breach Ukrainian defensive lines and seize control of the settlements of Gerol and Gwa. According to available information, in the past 24 hours, the Russians have significantly improved their positions in this area. Reports from neutral sources and pro-Russian resources indicate that they have established complete control over these facilities and are continuing their advance. However, it is important to understand that the Russians do not necessarily need to physically cut this road between Marina and Maritsa to completely disrupt Ukrainian logistics. They only need to advance their positions by approximately 5 kilometers. For example, if we calculate the distance between the settlement of Pvka, where the Russians have already established complete FPV drone control, and the Russian border, the distance is around 10 kilometers. This suggests a strategic pattern. The Russians need to shorten the distance between their advanced positions and the blue line for about the same range. If we calculate the current distance between the settlement of Mrid and the positions of the Russian armed forces on the Russian side of the P River, it is about 14 kilometers. Thus, the Russians need to advance another 4 or 5 kilometers to bring this road under full FPV drone control, which would effectively cripple Ukrainian logistics. Once this control is established, Ukrainian forces will be forced to rely on smaller local roads through forests, significantly worsening their overall situation in Sudzha and the surrounding area. To achieve this, the Russians need to take full control of the settlement of Gwa and secure several nearby forests and tree lines. Once accomplished, their mission in this sector will be complete. Given this strategy, it is unlikely that the Russians will push deeper into the Sudzha direction itself. Instead, their focus is on preserving evidence of numerous war crimes allegedly committed by Ukrainian forces over the past several months. The closer the Russians advance toward the border, the fewer opportunities remain to encircle those responsible, rescue civilians, and maintain the region's infrastructure. Currently, despite intense fighting in the Sudzha direction, only 10 to 20% of the area has been damaged, with up to 80% of buildings and infrastructure still intact. The Russians aim to preserve as much as possible, making encirclement of Ukrainian forces in the Sumy region their preferred approach. This is likely the course of action they will pursue over the coming weeks and months. Now, let's analyze the situation in the northern Kupiansk direction. Based on the latest intelligence, it appears that something significant may occur in this region within the next 2 to 3 weeks. First, regarding the Russian foothold on the Ukrainian side of the Oskil River, reports indicate that, in the past 24 hours, the Russians have improved their positions near the settlement of Zapad. Additionally, they have advanced along the Asal River, moving as close as possible to the settlement of Halova, which is already part of the Kupiansk agglomeration. Furthermore, we received numerous geolocations in the past 24 hours. A notable video, lasting 3 minutes and 22 seconds, documents extensive Russian attacks and bombardments against Ukrainian defensive positions in the northern Kupiansk pocket. Notably, there has been little information from this area for an extended period, suggesting that major developments are underway. This concludes today's update. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, give me likes, have a nice day.